Doom, 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 doom. We're going to go like this all day. It's going to be like this all day, playoff edition. Oh, yeah. We're going to go, 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 go. What's up there, guess?
Hey.
Hey. All right. All right. All right. Answers by guess, everybody.
What's up?
I am excited.
Yeah.
Excited, sir.
Yeah, not quite as excited as I was before week one. This was a rough season. Playoffs, 2 out of 6 leagues.
Almost made me spit my coffee out.
3 7th place, basically 1 game out of the playoff spot. And if I would have won 1 more game, I had enough points that I would have at least been the 6th seed. And then 1 answers by guess, where if we won 1 more game, we would have been the 6th seed. But we're like in 11th, but we just scored so many points that we would have catapulted all the way up. So a game out of 4 leagues and in the playoffs in 2. So, I mean, rough. But when this happens to you, much like it's happened to me, much like I did today and contacted Rob, you must reflect, you must assess, and you must pivot. You must adjust. And I already have plans for next year. I already know what I did wrong this year. And 6 leagues is not the most I ever played in, but it's the most I played in about 2 seasons. The lowest I've ever played in, I think, was 4 in quite some time. But this is the worst showing I ever had. But the teams did really well. Like I said, just 1 more game, and I was in the playoffs in all 6 leagues. So a lot of bad beats, but I know what I did wrong in a lot of places, and I'm ready for June, July, August to come so I can correct it.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody, it's not that there were mistakes that were made. I think it has to do more with how the league has changed and the extra week, how it affected how teams are playing. We've seen a lot more football that there's a lot more analytics this year than I feel like there's been in many years, in which you would think a football move would happen based on your knowledge and based on your experience, and it did not happen that way. A lot of 4th downs. I've seen more 4th downs on their own side of the field this year than I've seen, I think, ever in football. So again, it's just a lot of different things that I think the league's trying to do and trying to make it more fun for everybody to watch. But from a fantasy perspective, that's where you got to go with the blows and figure out, like Guest said, is how do we make this better and how do we adjust to be able to put ourselves in a position to be able to win.
Right.
So remember, like us, follow us, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Good news. No more buys.
Unless you're on one.
Unless you're on one. Very good point. To kind of contemplate or to kind of go with what you were saying, I made 3 out of 5 leagues. So more than 50% happy on that.
That's
good. Got 2 buys as well.
That's real good.
I lied. I know, 2 buys in 2 leagues. And then it's actually my son's league. Me and him are teamed up in this league. They play 4 teams make the playoffs out of 12, but it's week 15 and 16 count for your win, and then week 17 and 18 is the championship.
Ooh.
So I got 2 weeks now of I need good players and good movement. Luckily in that league, I have Tom Brady and Jonathan Taylor, who have been really – and Deebo Samuel. So I got a pretty decent team there.
The good thing for anybody this year whose leagues – because, in the past, some people play in that dreaded week 17 for whatever reason. So if you're playing in week 18 this year, it's the same exact thing. The good thing is the playoff races are real tight. So if you don't, the AFC, everybody's live right now.
Yeah, it's all smushed
and
together.
The NFC is pretty live too, because you got 3 or 4 teams all right up there that could be the number 1 seed. So as long as that stays close, I don't think we're going to see players sitting as much as we typically do, because there's no real front runner. So that's a good thing if you play the late leagues. That's ballsy, I don't want to be a part of it, but I think you have hope this year. Would that be the case, Mr. Roberto?
The funny part about it is, like you just said, everyone's so close. Everything, all matchup. It's the same thing that happened in fantasy this year. Everybody was so
It's
close. The
crazy.
matchups. I mean, you got to think about it. Would you think the Bills are 7-16? No, I wouldn't think. I mean, to a certain aspect, the way they were coming in, the way they were so hot, and so on and so forth, everybody had them winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's real
They're
crazy. I do a lot of writing, or a lot of listening, a lot of reading, and it's that way across most leagues in America or the world, where people are just jumbled, and some hope for some people earlier in the season. Luckily, knock on wood, it's never really been me in this case, but I heard a handful of people writing or calling in to radio shows that were 0-6 or 1-7 and finished 7-7 and are in the playoffs. So it's like you're never done, especially with this extra game now. So things changed and punched us in the nose, but we're gonna bounce back. And I don't think it was a bad year with calls on our end. We had a couple that didn't hit, but we hit some home runs. I wouldn't say it was our best year, but given all things considered, I don't think it was our worst year by any means.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of the videos that we were able to put out on some of the especially guesstimators and stuff like that. I mean, you're talking about guys that are less owned in like 15% of leagues and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
You hit a couple of those, and then some other names that we kind of knew but we didn't know. I mean, that's obviously what you're getting here. So inside scoop from outside the box, guys.
that's right.
All right, we kind of doing something a little bit different today. Guess, do you want to kind of describe and talk about it?
Yeah, I mean it's the day to do this. I think across America, it's like Loser Tuesday because people know if they're a loser or not. And I think when that happens, lose or win, you always have to assess where you're at, how you got there. So I figured we would run through some categories, and I don't know Rob's answers, and Rob doesn't know mine. But we're just going to talk about some players that fit into certain categories, certain molds, based on how we thought about them in the beginning, how they wound up doing, and in the end where we're going to go from here for next season. So you can start us off.
Sure. So we're going to start off with players we did not like that did not do well. Somebody that came to my mind, hopefully I'm not taking one of your guys, but we kind of talked about him all year long. Um, there was so much high expectations for this young player, a rookie guy, high draft pick. Um, it just didn't work out so far. As you say, Mr. Run Backwards, Mr. Trevor Lawrence is somebody that, from my perspective, he didn't live up to the hype. I think there was so much positivity coming into the season, and people had him and Urban Myers winning the championship before they even played a game, that it was a really big disappointment. I saw him being drafted as QB1 in a lot of different leagues. So it's something that we weren't high on him. We kept on saying his game is getting worse and worse. Urban Myers doesn't know how to utilize him. Maybe he doesn't know how to utilize the offense type of that he has. Something that they're going to have to pay attention to. I mean, I was looking at numbers from a Gardner Minshew compared to him in their first games. And I mean, it was astronomical, the amount of touchdowns to interception ratio, the yardage. But yet, I know Trevor Lawrence is the future. He's the Jessica Parker of the NFL kind of look. But again, it's something that we said it from the beginning. We didn't like him. We didn't think he was going to do well. And if you used him as your QB1 for the first few weeks, even going into that London game with hopes that he would turn it around, hopefully you didn't use him all too much and he didn't, help you lose a league or not make the playoffs from that perspective. You were able to pivot and listen, saying we had given you the information, hopefully that we would help you pivot, as guests would say, or as we said before, as far as choosing somebody or a better option, even just based on matchups to a certain degree too.
Yeah, I had him basically kind of on my list as another guy that I had right with him. But the whole Trevor Lawrence thing, I mean, draft day right away, even leading up to the draft, I mean, it's well documented this season. I told many people, so many people in dynasty leagues were grabbing him right away, thinking, Mr. Sunshine, whatever. I just didn't see it. I mean, I got laughed out of a fantasy room for putting him the third best out of all the top five rookie quarterbacks, and that's kind of where he's fallen. He is slightly still ahead of Fields. Um, Zach Wilson, the injury didn't really do too much, but Mac Jones I had second, and I think consensus would say he's the best, whether it's the system or whatever. But yeah, good call on Trevor Lawrence. So my first one goes hand in hand with that, Trey Lance. I thought this year would not be anything Trey Lance. I said it's Jimmy G. I said if it's dynasty, you can grab him, but you will get nothing out of him this year. Don't expect anything. And redraft, don't even worry about him because it's Jimmy G. And the only way Trey Lance is getting any burn is if Jimmy G's terrible, and I don't see that happening. So that was a positive for both of us on our first one. Trevor Lawrence, we didn't like him. He stunk. And Trey Lance, we didn't like him and didn't do much.
All right. They're going to go on to the next ones here.
Oh, we got another one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got to give
We each get two? Oh, my bad.
Get two.
Oh, okay. So my second one is something that we've been seeing a lot actually recently, especially during the win game. Something that we're seeing as far as from a Buffalo perspective, that the running back situation there not only was jumbled, but it doesn't exist. They have become the new Kansas City Chiefs. They've become, I'm not going to focus on running the ball because I have Josh Allen who can do everything. And we've seen now, I mentioned it, a 7-6 record. Josh Allen isn't doing everything. I wasn't high on Singletary. That's the person that I'm talking about. I didn't like him going into the season. There were weeks that I was like, hey, you know what? Might as well take a fly on him. Matchup sounded good. But from what we saw, even last year, the split between Singletary and Moss was 50-50. Everybody had Singletary high this year again. They had Moss high. Those guys are going fifth round. You weren't sure who you were taking. You're taking a gamble. Hopefully you didn't take a gamble too much. They did better in the beginning of the season, but as you've seen, Breda's been the best running back over there right now, going into the end of the season. And it was something that I know I avoided as much as possible in every league that I was in.
Yeah, same position for me with number two. Just a guy that I didn't like at all, and he stunk it up. Past couple of weeks has looked okay. I think we kind of thanked Cam Newton for last week. I didn't like him. He was going in like second round, in some places third round. People were going off of last season's success when CMC went out. That's Mike Davis. I didn't want to touch Mike Davis at all. I was telling people stay away from Mike Davis. When we did our preseason show, he was somebody I was like, you don't want anything to do with him. Draft somebody else at that point in time. Mike Davis was absolutely terrible this year, and we called that. So that's another positive for us. So let's go to some negatives.
All right. Players we did not like that did do well. I'll let you start this one.
All right. So this guy absolutely killed it. And I did not like him going into the season. And the main reason I didn't like him was not because of his ability, because when he was a rookie, didn't get much playing time, but his second year, he got a lot of playing time. And I called it before that second season. I said, this guy's going to be a stud. And then injuries started happening. And he was injured. He was injured. He was injured. He was injured. And then he got cut. And he wound up somewhere else. And he absolutely murdered this year. And as I'm watching the game last night, I could not have been more happy for James Conner. Good for him. I mean, he's hurt again. So that's something we have to probably talk about tonight. He's hurt. Yeah. Got hurt in the second last play. Could barely do anything on the last one. And then as they're going off the field, he's laying on the ground. And the medics and everybody are coming out to him. So he's hurt again. But, man, I'm very happy for James Conner. I'm happy he had a great season. He's a great story. The reason his rookie year didn't go well, he had a really serious disease, something with his legs, like some type of, I don't even know I don't even want to speak at it because I'll be incorrect. But I want to say something with like his bones and like the bones being weak or something. But man, I'm really happy for him, and that's one happy incorrect call that I have. I thought it would be Edmonds, and Edmonds got hurt, and Connor's been incredible.
One of my guys is somebody that's actually on one of my second favorite teams here. Somebody that had a record going into, I want to say, like week 13, as far as from a turnover ratio, probably having one of the best years from that perspective. Obviously, you can tell who I'm talking about, Kirk Cousins. I think him being in the top, 7 quarterbacks right now, based on his stat line, is something I didn't even think would come close. Funny part about it, I love Jefferson this year. I thought Thielen would have a good year, but I didn't like the fact that Kirk Cousins was throwing to them, so I kind of stayed away in most of my leagues. Dynasty, I have Thielen, so I have to stick with him, but I stayed away from Jefferson. And I think that was a big mistake for me because I didn't have confidence in Kirk Cousins. He kind of proved there were some games, that they were out of it, but for most games, he was throwing a couple touchdowns. He was in that 250 range. Even when Cook was out, he was still producing. He took the team on his shoulders, and he put up fantasy points for a lot of us that, again, I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that's a great learning lesson. Kirk Cousins, I was down on him as well. But when you got receivers that are that good, this is where we take notes and we say, okay, maybe we don't worry about Kirk Cousins or guys like him so much when somebody's an all-world talent like Justin Jefferson. My second guy that I didn't like that did extremely well, really needs some introduction, used to play for the team on your hat. That's Cordarrelle Patterson. Probably the waiver wire pickup of the year after weeks 1 or 2. I was like, I've seen this before. I've seen it with the Bears last year for a couple games. I even had to play him for the Bears one game last year when he went off. I think it was on a Monday night. I had to use him. I was like, it's not going to last. Well, guess what? It lasted. So, after like 4 or 5 weeks, I had to sort of submit and just be like, all right, I concede. I was wrong. He's good to go. You keep him on your team. He's just continued to do it and do it. So that's like LL Cool J. So that's another one that we got wrong. I got wrong, and he killed it. So going forward, he is 30-some years old, I believe. But he's the best weapon they have. So we'll see going into next year. And if he keeps that duality, I don't care.
He has a ton of value, man. Yeah, a ton of value. Somebody that I know from the same perspective, player that I didn't like, that didn't do well. I thought it was going to be a plethora, I'll use the word, of running backs in this team. They had names from everywhere and anywhere. We saw glimpses of everybody do well last year. We were concerned to see how the offense would move through him. And he surprised the hell out of me this year. And that's Austin Eckler. I honestly think that Austin Eckler put the Chargers on his back. Dude, he made everybody else's name forgettable for the first how many weeks of the season. And don't get me wrong, we're seeing some Roundtree, we're seeing some Jackson, we're seeing a little bit of everybody now. But I think that's more of the game of what we had talked about during the season. Eckler said, I need help. I can't do this by myself.
Right.
But what he's proven is that when they needed him and the tough gets going, he was holding that team up for the Chargers are still in the race because of his 4 touchdown game. Him being able to run and catch the ball the way they want him to out of the backfield. He's Justin Herbert's safety net the same way Keenan Allen's Justin Herbert's safety net. So that's somebody I've never been high on an Eckler. I even thought last year I thought he was overrated. But he's one of the top running back. He's one of the top scorers this year in leagues.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I was down on him, and one of the big things was injury. I was worried about injury. And you would be like, well, God, you were down on him. You were down on Connor. You were worried about injury on both. Maybe we shouldn't worry about injury. But guess what? I was down on Christian McCaffrey, too. So it's kind of like, you win some, you lose some. But, yeah, Austin Eckler, bad call for sure. You want to go to the next one, or you want to take some questions, then we'll come back?
Yeah, let's do some questions, and then we'll come back to it.
All
right. First question on our Jeremy. I made it. Playoffs. Woo! Now I have to beat the team who scored 185 points this week. Ebbs and flows, baby. Yeah, you beat me to it, man. Think about it. You didn't think you were going to make it, bro. You made it. Now go with it. I mean, from a projection standpoint, we're giving you names. I mean, I think you picked up Penny, if I'm not mistaken, in that league, and look what he did. He was a
I
video. The guesstimator hit.
I told him in our little group chat that we have, I said, you lucked out not getting Herbert
Yeah.
because you have Penny in there, and Penny's going to have a good week.
Khalil Herbert fumbled the ball yesterday or whenever it was Sunday night. He didn't look good. Even returning the ball, he was just out of sorts.
Congrats.
Awesome. Chad lost Lamar yesterday for who knows how long. Better QB option for playoffs. Big Ben, Taysom Hill, Matt Ryan, Jimmy G, Nutu, Tua, Bridgewater, Mac or Baker.
I don't know who Nito is.
Nito.
I think that you have to go Taysom Hill, right? Cheat code. He's had 2 huge plays towards the end of both games, but it's helped his stats, man. I think Dawn's words will go down in history. It's not pretty, but you'll take it. And I think you just have to just go with Taysom Hill. I haven't looked at the matchups for this week as of yet, but as of now, I'd go Taysom Hill 1 and probably put Tua second. And the rest of them, I could do without all of them.
Tua would be my pickup for this week if you could pick up more than one option. Taysom Hill, because Taysom Hill's playing Bucs Sunday night. Tua's playing the Jets. So I would go from that perspective, pick up Tua. Then Taysom Hill, I want to say, has an easier matchup. He plays the Dolphins the following week on Monday night. At home at that, too. Yeah. I think that's the way I would kind of go in that order and utilize them that way.
Grab them both.
All right. This one's a long one here. Marty P. Started listening to you two last year. Always appreciate your candidness. My top 2 takeaways. Your call this year on Herbert contributed to 2 key wins, and your key phrase, ebb and flow, taught me patience and stick to the plan. 2 leagues, 10-4 in each, number 1 seed in each, so I got the bye. Great fun this year. Thank you. This old man ain't sitting down.
Stand up, old man.
I love it. I love it, Marty.
That
is fantastic, man.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
I'm glad that you joined the show and that you contribute too, man.
Definitely.
All right, Derek with the question. A bunch of players here. Let me know if you want matchups. Need 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex. Kamara, Mixon, Eli Mitchell, Michael Carter, Metcalf, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, ODJ, Bateman, Galladay, and Tony. If it makes it easier, he'll be more than willing to wait until Sunday.
Well, I mean, we'll revisit this Sunday. You can just mark that down. But, I mean, as of right now, you have to go Kamara and Mixon just because you need Mitchell to clear concussion protocol, and I don't know if Carter's coming back. Wide receivers, I'd have to take a quick peek at the matchups. I just want to see. I'm scrolling. Seattle's going against the Rams. Yep. They got tons of COVID going on.
Carolina's playing the Bills. Cincinnati's playing the Broncos.
So I would go out of all those, as of right now, Metcalf and Chase. And then 2 flex. That's where I'd leave the door open for Mitchell and DJ Moore.
I'm going to say Michael Carter. I like everybody. Michael Carter, if he comes back, somebody, that I would be probably. If him and Mitchell would be my 2 choices for flex. Otherwise, I'm in agreement with the other ones.
Although the one thing I will say, it's going against Green Bay, though, but if Lamar's out, Huntley looked at Bateman quite a bit. Bateman had a good game. So if Carter doesn't go, you could go with Bateman as well. So maybe Bateman, Carter is your other flex. Let's hope Eli Mitchell passes concussion protocol. We'll talk about this again Sunday. And the show is going to be Sunday because we're going to do Saturday's games today. So somehow we're going to have to figure out how to do it early on Sunday.
All right. We'll take one more question, then we'll go back into the season. And Marty P, is Penny a number 1 for the rest of the season?
I hope so. Next week's game is tough. Connor did just run. Well, he caught a bunch of passes, but he did run pretty well against the Rams. I hope so. I think they continue to use him in the same capacity. Sub him out quite a bit with Collins. I know Homer didn't play last week, but Dallas was in there for a couple. We'll see. Let's just hope Penny stays healthy. Let's hope he puts this behind him. And he's somebody that you go after next year. If he has a quiet but loud end to the fantasy season, he's somebody you could probably stash as like your RB4 somewhere if they don't take another running back. And I don't think they will. I think that he'll come back. He's a first round draft pick, as I mentioned on Saturday's show. So I don't know if he's a number one, but he's definitely playable. He's definitely playable. The matchup was not as good this week against the Rams. Last week was a smash, Houston. So don't expect 30 points. He was the RB1. He was the best running back in the league this week from the guesstimator.
I love it. I love it. Matchup wise, you want him week 17. He's playing Detroit. I think, especially if you make the championship, that's somebody I'm looking at flex option, especially if he's healthy, especially if he's playing the way he played this week or is putting up similar stats. That's where I would want to utilize him. All right. So we are at player we did not like that did do well. All right. So let's go with players we like that did do well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Mine is somebody I took a big risk on. I think a lot of people took a big risk on, but we kind of knew that the volume was going to be there. He's your number one rookie running back, Najee Harris. I took a huge chance. He was my second round pick. I took Tyreek Hill first, and I took Najee second. And I'm like, how the hell am I taking a rookie in this with my second round draft pick? And I had all the faith in the world. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this kid a chance because he has to touch. There's nobody else that's going to touch the ball. He's going to be your Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be your Dalvin Cook. He's going to be that type because of the volume. And there were some games that were a little iffy. I think I've texted back and forth with the guests a couple of times, like, where the hell's Najee? Why isn't he showing up? And then all of a sudden, he secretly has a touchdown and 80-something yards. And I was looking at that every week, and I'm kind of looking through he only had 1 week that he was in single digits. I think that's a win, especially from a running back perspective, especially the way we started the season from a running back perspective, that everybody seemed to kind of be on a downslope, and then it kind of started grazing. Okay, running backs are getting back. He was a huge risk, and I think he was such a high reward for me. I'm running him into my playoffs. He's going to be my number one running back, and I think he might be matchup proof to this point.
Yeah, 100% agree. I liked him as well. Player I liked that did well. We're going to talk about him again later, but this is a guy that I talked about in the beginning. I talked about after drafts. I talked about before week 1 and a couple slow weeks, and I kept talking about him, and now he's the best. Jonathan Taylor. I knew he was going to have
that close guess.
I knew he was going to have a huge season. It's crazy, so crazy, and I don't want to spill any beans because we're going to get to it. But there was a week in between our most important league, our top stakes league, and the ABG league, and within that week, I went 100% Jonathan Taylor. And I said, Rob, somehow we need to get Jonathan Taylor at pick 10 or 12 or whatever we were.
Yeah, 13.
And he's like, I don't think he's going to fall. I'm like, maybe he will. People aren't thinking about him yet. We need him. He didn't fall to us. It was a difference in that league. I believe it. And it was a difference in another league as well, and I'll talk about it later. But Jonathan Taylor was somebody that I was all in on before the season began. And, I mean, look where he's at. He's going to be number one pick next year in every single league. He's going to be the number one pick.
He has to be. People are like, CMC's still the number one pick. I'm like, how? It just doesn't make sense. From not only from a health perspective, but who's the quarterback? That plays a huge part. And you got to think that Jonathan Taylor, he's doing as well as he is because Wentz is there. Hopefully them getting a quarterback or figuring out a quarterback. Russell Wilson, I think, could be a huge potential for the Indianapolis Colts now that he's choosing teams that he's willing to get traded to. But that production that Jonathan Taylor had, I agree with you, man. He was we were that close. I think he was picked 12, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Somebody else for me. I'm kind of like, I don't know how I felt about him. You mentioned him before. He was somebody that was on the rookie quarterback list. Somebody that I took in our dynasty league as one of the last picks. He's somebody that I thought had potential of being good just based on his college resume, but teaming him up with Bill Belichick, Mac Jones has shown me something different, and he's not doing it on an every week basis. He's not your gunslinger that's putting up 30 to 40 attempts. He's a winning quarterback, though. From a fantasy perspective, he'll have his weeks. He's not a mobile quarterback. They run the ball a lot, but he does just enough to be able to get you to a mark in fantasy that I'm comfortable enough with starting him if I need to. If I'm looking for 18 to 22 points out of my quarterback, it seems like that's kind of been consistent for him, especially in my leagues. Obviously scoring is different in everybody's leagues, but I'm happy that I drafted him. But it will actually be something that I'll talk about later on as well.
Okay. Yeah, Mac Jones, I actually did some deep diving on him because I sort of had to set somebody straight a couple weeks ago. This was before the bye, before the Week 13 wind game, and the game before that. And people were, as they are doing on Facebook and the card groups and the fantasy groups, everybody loves the recency bias like they did with Herbert last year. They're on it with Mac Jones, and the haters are, oh, he's dink and dunk, and I'm like, no, he's really not dink and dunk. Like in the beginning of the season, he was dink and dunk because he was rookie quarterback, and that's what the best coach ever had him doing. But if you watch the Week 12 game, he had some dimes, some big, long balls, chucking it out there, Bourne and the boys. And for the past 6 weeks leading up to Week 12, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, those 6 weeks, he was actually number 5, I think it was, or no, number 4 with air yards and downfield completion percentage on passes over 20 yards. And that's pretty remarkable. So he was dinking dunking early, but when he had to or he could throw it deep, he was. He wasn't forcing it. He was doing it when he had it. And then the last game, everybody will dog the 3 pass attempts. You didn't have to. That's a smart football player. Best coach in the world. Maybe that's the reason, but you can't knock Mac Jones because he has the best coach in the world coaching him to be the best rookie quarterback we have this year. Sticking with my second pick for a player I like that did well, another rookie, and did well on 50% of plays, Javonte. Javonte Williams is your Jonathan Taylor for next year. Javonte Williams is a rookie who will be second year last year, who very likely may not be sharing time with Melvin Gordon, depending on how things wind up in Denver, and could have the backfield for himself. Jonathan Taylor and Javonte Williams' seasons are very similar. If you go back to last year with Taylor and this year with Javonte, took him a little while, but Javonte actually got in there a little sooner. He was splitting with Mac last year. And when it's all said and done, at this time next year, we might be looking at Javonte Williams as even better than Jonathan Taylor.
Wow.
I just have that feeling. I mean, you see what I see, right?
Yeah.
Do you see what I see?
He helped me win again this week. Dude, my team put up numbers, and I still almost lost in a comeback on a Monday that the guy almost put up 80, or he put up 80 points, and I was up by 90. Like, it was crazy, man. And that was one of the players. So
we had 2 targets in ABG. It was Jonathan Taylor and Javonte. We got Javonte.
And we just missed. Think about it. Obviously health plays into it. Kyler and Hopkins being out for most of the year. I mean, the fact that we even won some games that were there, that was pretty good. All right. Do you want to go back into questions? Do you want to go to the next category?
We'll do the last category after some more questions. Let's nail them.
All right. Questions. All right, Antonio with the question. I'm going to go with Darrell Williams or Gage.
Um, I'm gonna go with Gage, and I mean, CEH is fine. Derek Gore did well last week in mop up time, right? CEH isn't hurt again, is he?
No, he had two touchdowns.
Yeah. So no, Gage. Somebody that's gonna be
Oh,
on the
I'm sorry.
field.
Are you saying to me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm saying that the world.
I thought you were asking me about Gage. I'm sorry, about CEH.
Yeah, see, no, he didn't get hurt, so why are we even going to play Darrell Williams? Is what I'm saying. Like, put Gage out there. Yeah, they're playing against who are they playing? Somebody decent defense.
Gage is
I just had
playing
it.
49ers.
Yeah, that's fine. I go with Gage.
All right, Antonio with another one here. Arizona or Dallas? Arizona is playing the Lions. Dallas is playing the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dallas. Dallas defense is hot right now. Giants offense is kind of a mess. I'm gonna go with Dallas.
I lost this week in me and my son's league because I put New Orleans over Dallas, thinking that the Jets were that the red. No, sorry, the football team were going to play better against the Cowboys than they did. All right, Robbie asked for the question. I'm going to have multiple questions this week, and this will be the first. Should I be hopeful for DeAndre Swift? And if he does play, what do you think his workload looks like? Same question for Eli Mitchell.
I think you have a better shot with Eli Mitchell playing this week. Um, and I think if he plays, he passes concussion protocol. You put him in because Jeffrey Wilson looked like doo doo. His knee is like jello, and you could tell because he's not running hard, he's not pushing off, he's not making good cuts. It's Eli Mitchell's gig, and he should pass concussion protocol. His other injuries, I think he had like two or three, should be pretty good. He was close last week. I think he plays. And I think you wait another week with Swift, and it would not surprise me the Lions lose this week without Swift. They just shut him down till next year. But I don't know. The team's got a lot of fight, coaches a lot of fight. But Elijah Mitchell is definitely a play over Swift, and you definitely have more hope with him this week. And I will say, Craig Reynolds, I feel like I'd seen his name before. And I was looking because I was doing DFS, and I was like, Igwebikwe was a guesstimator. And I'm like, something feels a little off. And I don't know. I looked up because I wanted to see if they had talked about who's going to get more burn, Igwebikwe or Jermar. And something pops up. They call up Craig Reynolds. And I'm like, I feel like I remember Craig Reynolds from like years ago. I feel like he's a hard runner. He looked really good. He looked really, really good. So I think Craig Reynolds is somebody. I know Jamal could be back this week, more than likely. I think he just got off of the COVID list actually today. But I think Craig Reynolds will share time with him and be the lead guy, and Jamal will go back to the Jamal role that he does very well. And I think they hold Swift out. They got 4 running backs. There's no reason to bring back Swift if they're not winning anything this year. They're eliminated. So.
Yeah, it seems like he's still on the COVID list, but I think I had read a note saying that he will be coming off more than likely. All right, Antonio with another one here. Freeman, Pittman, or Van Jefferson?
I mean, what's going on with the Rams? I mean, Odell's got COVID. Who knows? Van could be next. I'm fine with putting Pittman back in there this week. I know that they're going against the Patriots, but they are at home. And I know Bill Belichick likes to take out the top guy, but I think the top guy in this one's Jonathan Taylor. And I think Pittman can sneak out and grab a couple. I know the Freeman thing's good, but it's Huntley. It's against the Packers. They might lean on him some, but I would go right now, Pittman. I like the Van Jefferson play, especially against the Seahawks, but we just have to see what happens. If he ends up getting on the COVID list, you can't use him. But if he doesn't, then Van Jefferson's probably the play because there's no Odell.
Agreed. That makes sense.
Let's talk about this one Sunday. Oh, we can't.
Yes.
We can't.
Oh,
It's
no,
a
because, yeah, Pittman's
Saturday
a
game.
Saturday game, yeah. So we're going to have to
Yeah.
actually talk about that's one of the games that we're going to be going over.
So I'm going Pittman until if we get to Saturday before game time and Van Jefferson's not on the COVID list, I think you could feel safe just playing Van Jefferson. There is a chance that Sunday morning he goes on the COVID list, though. So if you want to go even super safe, Pittman. But I think Odell was today, COVID. I think if we're going to hear anything about Van Jefferson, it'll be by Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd imagine they closed down the facilities. They're probably testing everybody like crazy. So if everything goes good and you don't hear anything about Van, I would play Van over Pittman. But if he goes on it, then Pittman.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere, I think Shefty put it out there that 75 players have tested positive for COVID over the last like 2 weeks or something like that. Hopefully it's not going to affect the season.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy with the question. Better D to hold on to rest of the season, Browns or Kansas City? Or should he just hold on to both?
I'm going to say Kansas City. But if you have both and you don't need to drop one, just play matchups. Browns worry me. Kareem Hunt going to be out again, probably for the rest of the season, unless they make the playoffs. They'll hold them out until the playoffs. I'd probably go with KC. I don't know what the matchups look like even this week. But I would hold both. It's always good to have two and play the matchups here. I mean,
Yeah, Casey's playing this Thursday night game against the Chargers. Browns have the Raiders on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, so you might want to play the Browns this week.
I would probably play the Browns this week over KC. I think Chargers are coming for blood.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy with another one here. 7-7 is what got me in. 6-8 in the other league and not in. I would have needed to be 9-5. That's a perfect example of what we were talking about for this year. Chad here. I'm in 12 total leagues. 8 of them have playoffs. Out of those 8 leagues, I've made the playoffs in 7 of them. Nice job, dude. Fantabulous.
Very good.
All right, let's go into the next topic here.
Okay. Players we liked that didn't do well.
All right, players we liked that did not do well. You can go first there, sir.
You started off good. Both of mine did, actually. Started off good. I don't know what happened. I thought this guy coming back this year was going to have a heck of a season. Took him as my second wide receiver behind Hopkins, who's another story in himself. I think
He's on my list.
Okay. Well, I was just going to, I think moving forward, Hopkins might be just about cooked. But this is Cortland Sutton. I mean, man, this guy started the first 4 weeks of the season was a world beater. Disappeared. Teddy Bridgewater. I blame this one on the quarterback. I blame my next one on the quarterback as well. But Cortland Sutton, I blame it on the quarterback, and that was just a terrible call. So if you drafted him because I liked him, you could blame me, but I'm going to pass the blame. I'm sorry, Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Two Gloves. What was I heard another one, Teddy Two Gloves, and then there was a Teddy Two something. I don't know. Go ahead, your turn.
Teddy Two next to the person on the bench where he should be. No, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so my first one, I was super high on this guy. Had a fantastic year last year. Surprised a lot of people, but ended up in the doghouse in the beginning of the year. Also ended up having the number 1 wide receiver on his team in pretty much all leagues. But he's coming on now, and he's been doing a little bit better week by week. That's Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk, I was high on. I thought this kid was going to be him and Debo were going to run the entire San Francisco team. Obviously, you brought up Eli Mitchell, who's kind of taken over that role that Ayuk had, and they didn't use Eli Mitchell in the beginning the way they should have. But even still, Ayuk was somebody that was drafted high on everybody's board. I think he was one of the biggest questions from week 1 through 6. Like, what the hell do I do with this guy?
Yeah.
I have no clue what to do. A lot of people dropped him. And they had to. because there were plenty of moves that had to be made, especially with bye weeks when they came up. I'm glad to see him coming on. I'm glad to see that there's potential there again. But that rookie season that he had compared to this second year was a big drop off. And it's somebody that I hope can get back on track. And Shanahan knows how to use better.
Yeah, Ayuk was actually being drafted ahead of Debo in most places. And
Right.
I'll admit I was not high on Ayuk. You and I think we
I
fought
think it's
about that
different.
one
Yeah,
a little
about that.
bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's come on very nicely. And my second player that I liked that did not do well also started pretty well, and injuries kind of came into play, and the coach came into play, and the quarterback came into play. The love of my life has left me, and it's a very very sad day in guest land because I feel like this could hurt him long term. And I own him in many much dynasty leagues. Every dynasty league I'm in. Ah, my man, he was my diamond in the rough last season. League winner until he got injured before the last week of the season. James Robinson. James Robinson. Uh, Thought he was going to be an absolute steal, and he was. And I thought that before ETN got hurt. And then when ETN got hurt, I was like, slam dunk, baby. Do a little dance. Make a little love, J Rob.
Get
And
down that.
he
Sorry.
did, and then it just fell apart. Trevor Lawrence is terrible. There's no way he could succeed with that guy as his quarterback right now. The head coach is terrible. And the injuries. I mean, J Rob last week was 0.4, 5 yards rushing or 4 yards rushing. It's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I put a little blame on him, but I also don't because he's a little hurt. But his quarterback turns the ball over. His quarterback's terrible. He runs backwards. His head coach is terrible. But it doesn't change the fact that I loved him, and I still do.
Baby. I was gonna say you better.
But he did not do well, and he killed me this year. He absolutely killed me because in the 4 leagues I'm not in the playoffs, 3 of them I own him. One league I own him. So I own him in 5 leagues. One league I own him. I did make the playoffs. So got lucky. Rashad Penny.
All right. My guy kind of falls into the same category as Ayuk. It has a lot to do with his quarterback situation as well. There were some big weeks that he did have more toward the beginning of the season. I think I would say 4 out of the 13 weeks that he had played were good, but it's been a disappointment. And I have him in my dynasty league, and I don't know what to think. And it's not going to get better, I don't think, until the head coach leaves. And that's DK Metcalf. Metcalf was high on my board. Again, somebody else who had a fantastic year last year, especially going to the end of the season. He started off pretty good, and then the last like 6 weeks have been such duds that I didn't make the playoffs because I kept on starting and waiting for that week to happen. Like,
Yeah.
all right, this is the week he has to explode. Ebbs and flows explains everything. This has just been such an ebb, and the ebb just keeps on going. And it's unfortunate because the talent's there. You can see the talent's there. And it's not only Russell Wilson's fault because he has had drops that I'm like, how do you not catching that? I just
Yeah.
don't get it. And the opportunities are there. Lockett, we saw what happened with Lockett. You called it in the beginning. He's going to have 2 or 3 fantastic weeks and he's going to disappear. My boy Freddie Swain, he's somebody again. Is it make or break? It was DK Metcalf's show. That's what it should have been
Yeah.
all day,
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
and it just didn't happen, man.
Yeah. The never-ending ebb.
The never-ending ebb.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into some more comments, and then we'll go into the 2 last categories here.
Okay.
All right, Jeremy. Since we're recapping, what would the theme of the year be? 2 years ago, I can't quit you. last year was sit down, old man. I do feel next year will be the changing of the guard. Well, you will see Pollard over Zeke, Herbert getting more play, Gore in KC, maybe Penny in Seattle. The list goes on.
I like the prognostication. I enjoy it. And I don't disagree. It could be the changing of the guard. And we actually have a moving forward segment coming up later on. And it would be a nice segue, but we have something before that. So when we get to that, you'll get our thoughts. But I like those thoughts, the changing of the guard. It's kind of almost in line with what I was thinking, but not exactly. What would the theme be for this year? I don't know. You all are watching. You're here with us. You let us know. Rob, do you have any ideas? I'm trying to think. I kind of feel like the theme of this year is like
the never-ending ebb. I think you said it in the last part, the never-ending ebb, and that was with such players such as, I mean, don't get me wrong, Zeke had a couple games here and there, but Zeke's a perfect example where the ebb just keeps on going down and down. I don't know how to say it. Players are losing playing time for the wrong reasons, and I think this we talked about earlier. Football is different this year than we've ever seen. I'm gonna call it the analytical year. That's what my theme would be. Analytics took over football the same way analytics took over baseball.
I don't think it's right.
I agree. I don't think it's right at all.
And I'm not saying like, oh no, that's not right. Like, don't you dare do that to me. No, I don't think it's the right call. I don't think it's the right call. I don't think that using analytics. There was a game I was watching. It might have been the Sunday night game with the Packers, or it might have been the Monday night. I don't know. Team was down 3 points, and they were going to go for it when they were on like the 10. What are you doing? Kick the field goal and tie the game.
Put points on the board. Put points on the board.
What is wrong with you? Yeah. I mean, the never-ending ebb is a decent one, but it wasn't.
I kind of like what Spencer just put here. Year of next man up. There were a lot of injuries. There were a lot of younger guys getting burned that you didn't expect to get burned. Maybe that's a good one.
I'm trying to verbalize it. Is that the right word? No. Verbiage. I'm trying to find the correct verbiage. I'm trying to. This year was essentially what should happen didn't even have a chance type of thing. And I can't find the right word to encapsulate it. It's almost like the upside down. It's like if it's like exactly what I just said. If you're 4th and 3 and you're down 3, kick the field goal. Stop trying to go for it. And I don't even care if you end up scoring a touchdown. It was the wrong idea. It was the wrong idea. It's not what you do. It's not what you do. And I feel like that's just how it sort of was. When it should have been one player with somebody else. And I know that you have to change. You got to switch. It's first and goal on the 1. And you're like, all right, Zeke, let's go. You're going to score a touchdown. Nope, they throw in the end zone. Like those type of plays, that's happened forever. Like it's like we're going to run on 2nd down, so the first one we'll try and trick them with throw. Like that's okay, I get it. It sucks. That happens pretty much every year. But this year was just littered with things that just were the wrong calls. And I don't know if this year was the wrong calls like we had or people out there had the wrong calls, but it was just like nothing happened seemingly the way that it should have. Not nothing, but it was far too often. And I don't know. It's a great question. I wish I would have had that question before I could have thought about it. But if you all come up with something, but yeah, I mean, changing the guard for next season, next man up for this season. We see that type of thing a lot, the next man up, but 100% that on. I just think that I don't know if there's a catchphrase because maybe this fits right in. because most seasons you could have a catchphrase. And this season was just so not normal that you can't. You don't have one. It was just, what the hell's going on out here? I don't know. Maybe I'm forgetting something that we said weekly, because I feel like I can't quit you was quite often. I mean, the only thing that we said over and over was Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds. That's funny.
Yeah. Oh. All
right.
Nito.
I'm gonna go stay with Nito on that one, man. He probably plays better than Newton.
Yeah, all right. Don't ever play. Yeah.
Nito's AJ Green, better. Mooney, Penny, start 3. Carter or Penny if Carter plays. So Mooney, AJ Green, Mooney, Penny, or Carter start 3.
Yeah. Well, if he plays. I don't know. We got to see what's going on because DeAndre Hopkins is hurt again. He had an MRI today. So, I mean, AJ Green could be in play. He got targeted a ton going against the Lions. So I guess I would just go with your first 3 right there and just wait and see if Carter comes back because I haven't heard anything that makes me think Carter's coming back.
No, they're saying there's potential for him to be returning this week.
Yeah, and against the Dolphins, it's a tough matchup down in Miami. I would go with the first 3 for now. And if you had to sit one, I'd probably sit Mooney, to be honest. I mean, going against the Vikings at home Monday night, you get the Monday night magic, so maybe not. But I'm just going to go with the first 3 for now.
All right. I agree.
We hear from Carter.
Taysom or Kyler this week?
Probably got to go with Kyler against Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, guys, just because of the run aspect of it. You're getting the run out of both of them. I'd rather have Kyler running against Detroit than Taysom running against Tampa Bay. Donta Foreman or Penny?
I'm not a Foreman guy, so I have to say Penny.
No, I'm going to agree. What Penny did last week, I know he's going against the Rams this week. James Conner ran on them yesterday. I mean, obviously Seattle's nowhere close, but again, they like to play hard against each other. I mean, this is a team they see a lot. So, all right, Mooney, Chase, Lockett, start 2.
I'd probably go with Mooney and Chase. Lockett had a big game. But like Rob said, sooner or later that never-ending ad has to end. And they're going against the Rams. Tough defense. I like Chase. I like Mooney with the Monday night. If I'm going to take anybody out, it'll be Mooney and play Lockett. But I'll go Mooney and Chase on a Tuesday.
All right. What defense we trying to NC stash? Saints, Eagles, 49ers.
The Eagles had good, which we'll call it, right? Good schedule.
Yeah, Washington this week. They have Giants the following. Then they play the Bucks weeks. I'm sorry, that's the Jets. Oh, my bad. And then they play Washington again, week 17.
Yeah, I'd go with the Eagles. Yeah. Washington, Giants, Washington. Might as well.
Yeah. Saints have a really tough matchup this week, but then they have the Panthers, and I want to say, maybe the Panthers are the following.
And it's crazy because the Niners have Texans week 17. So
you may have to play puzzle, to be honest with you. I wouldn't choose the Saints this week, but I would choose the Eagles. I would probably choose the Saints the following week, and then I would probably go the Niners the last week.
Yeah. You might even who do the Niners play week 16? That's what I want to say.
Titans, yeah.
You know what? The Niners might be the best one. The Niners might be the best one, to be honest. They're starting to come along. They're giving up points.
Falcons this week, too.
Falcons, Titans, Texans. They might be the strongest with all 3 put together. So if you're going to only pick one, I would get the Niners, but then I'd also maybe try and grab the Eagles just to have something else to maybe use this week. But I think the Niners 16 and 17 where it's at.
All right, Jeremy, does Shaquem Grant become more involved in the Bears' offense?
He's been there a long time. He and he was the same as that guy from Miami, but just never got involved in their offense as much as he should have been. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like he was a speed guy, like with Bird, and just to beat Green Bay the way that they did, that they didn't beat him in the game, but they beat him on many much plays there. Many much, I love that tonight. Um, I don't know. I don't think he's worth a pickup if that's what you're alluding to.
All right, Javonta and Taylor will be two of my three keepers next year for sure.
Yeah,
I would
definitely.
agree with that. Hell yeah.
Real quick, Spencer had Patriots, Denver, or Saints ranked them. I
Oh,
think
I'm
you.
sorry.
I
Did I
think you
miss that?
have. I think you have them in order.
Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to miss that.
That's all right.
Antonio, 2 second places, 1/4 out of 3 leagues. Very good, but I need a championship to make it a great year.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
what you're here for, buddy. That's what we're gonna get you to. All right, Alan made the playoffs in the money league at 7-6-1. The commissioner missed playoffs at 7-7.
Nice. Nice. The tie.
We knocked the commissioner out of the most important league this year too. No offense there, guys.
Quiet.
I need a sleeper running back pickup. Burkhead is my running back 2 due to injuries.
And you know what? You actually won your matchup, which I needed Rob to beat who
I
he
did it for
played.
you.
And he did. He smashed, but I absolutely got demolished. You know what? You know what beat me? I mean, I know I lost by more points, but that's because I told my guys just sit down, like forget about it, it's over. 18-yard touchdown to end overtime for Tom Brady and the Bucks. 18 point touchdown. Like I was like, oh my god, I have life. Oh my god, I have life. Bills, all I need you to do is score. Throw a touchdown to Dawson Knox, and I'm pretty much gonna win this. Nope, they go 3-and-out. Bucks get a point for the 3-and-out. Then Brady throws a 80-yard touch, 60-something yard touchdown for 18 fantasy points. I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm done. This was a fun year.
All right. It was definitely different. I need a sleeper running back. Pickup Burkhead is my running back 2 due to injuries.
Craig Reynolds. I mean, I don't based on you having Burkhead as your RB2. I'm guessing it's pretty shallow. I'm guessing it's pretty picked over on the waiver wire. I'm guessing Rashad Penny's not available. So I would think Craig Reynolds is. I mean, he looked good last week.
I would take a shot on Derek Gore. Yeah, that's somebody else I would look at.
The one thing I'm going to say about Gore, nobody likes Gore as much as I do. They were murdering, and that's why he was in the game. I mean, he flashed. They could use him against the Chargers on Thursday, sort of take a little bit off of CH's play, but they were murdering, and that's why he got in the game.
If Pollard doesn't go, Corey Clement would be somebody else to look at, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Giants need to start Fromm over Glennon.
Might as well.
Why not? Yeah, exactly. And might as well. Give him a shot. All right. We're going to go into another topic here. All right. Your biggest mistake / regret.
Shall I proceed? Or do you want to go first?
I got 2 of them. So I don't know.
Go first. I only have one.
So you mentioned him before. He was one of your guys that player you didn't like that did do well. I had mentioned him in the preseason show. And I said, man, I don't know why, but I'm going to star this guy just because I have a feeling. And you weren't high on him. You said it yourself. It was Cordarrelle Patterson. I had marked him on my watch list in every league.
Like him.
I thought, I'm like, this guy kind of started coming on at the end of the year. He's that gadget gizmo that without Julio, that could be what the Falcons need. I think those were the words that I kind of used. And I did not draft him in any leagues. I did not pick him up in any leagues. I went against my gut. And that's maybe that's something I went against my gut a lot this year. I feel like where I thought my gut was wrong because of the way the football or understanding football the way I do, and I should have went with my gut a lot more. And Cordarrelle Patterson is definitely somebody that I like going into the season that I didn't take a chance on at all.
Yeah, you did like him. Mine. If I start to cry, bear with me. We had our most important draft, and I was pick 5. And I'm going through it. I'm like, okay, the first guy's definitely going to take CMC, and then it's going to be Kamara's going to be in there.
Henry Cook.
Henry Cook. I was like, okay, it's going to come to me. It's like, Zeke. Leading up to it, I loved Zeke. And I even see a comment there. And I loved it. I was like, all right, I'm going to get Zeke. He looks good this year. I like it. All right, 5. That's what I'm going to get. If any of those guys fall to me, I probably will take one of those. The night of the draft, I get this feeling in my fingers. Felt it in my toes.
That's what she said.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, gosh. And the reason this makes me want to cry is because this is a typical thing I do. I do what I did not do. I've done it before I win leagues because I do this. And I didn't. Sitting there and we're getting ready for the draft. And I'm like, man, what if I took Jonathan Taylor at 5? And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know if I could do it. I'm like, and I said I could take Zeke, and everybody else might not think that highly of Jonathan Taylor because I think he was like 15. I was like, he might fall to me. People take quarterbacks kind of early in this league. I'm like, maybe I can take Zeke, and maybe I still have a shot on Jonathan Taylor. I was like, I don't know. And I was like, that night, typically like Rob does after every draft, you take your draft, whatever. It's like, I almost took Jonathan Taylor at 5. And in his text, I can remember, he's like, wow, that would have been huge if you did. Day goes by, another day goes by, 5 days until the ABG draft. I said, Rob, we need to get Jonathan Taylor. He said, I don't think we're going to get him. I said, we might get him. I said, we need to have him on our team. And from that moment on, I was like, I knew I did something wrong being a wuss. Like I had Kareem Hunt years ago when people didn't even know who he was. I drafted him in the 2nd round. He won me my league. That I would have murdered this year. I was just him away, and that's my biggest mistake. So I can no longer not take risks. I got too safe in drafts this year, I feel like. I mean, even in ABG, when we didn't get someone, I don't remember who it was, but we didn't get somebody and we're like, we'll just take Zach Moss. Remember that? It's like neither one of us really wanted him, but we're like, we just have to take him because like we missed out on our guy. It's like we just took what was safe, what was there. So going forward, I'm going back to my roots. I'm going out there, and I don't care if I draft the number 15th ranked at 5 because I had a feeling that's what I was supposed to do. Like it flashed. Like I'm not even trying to be any type of way. Jonathan Taylor like flashed. You know when you're on the Yahoo drafts and like the countdown comes on, it's like I saw a flash of Jonathan Taylor, and I was like, I can't do that. But I should have done that. And if I would have done that, it would have changed everything. So that's my biggest mistake. So going forward, like if I get a feeling, I don't even care. I don't care where they're ranked. If I like them, I'm taking them. And you know what? I liked Zeke. and that's probably why I felt like he's slim. He looks fresh. He looks good. If he didn't get hurt, who knows? Zeke might have done really well. But Pollard coming on, I completely overlooked that. I didn't think they would be as close. And I didn't take a chance. And we can't be scared to take chances because that's how you win. You know, that's how you win. No risk, no reward. That's it.
It's funny. I was during that draft, I was on the phone with Mike, and it was your turn, and I can remember this. I'm like, all right, Nick's up. Here we go. The craziness is going to begin. He's going to take the most random player at this spot. I think you could even ask Mike about it. And you took Zeke. I was like, and that's the funny part. I think every single year that I've drafted with you, you change the draft every single time you pick. In that first round, you changed the draft, and you went safe with Zeke. And I think his words were like, oh, crap, he took Zeke. Like, he was expecting you to go crazy, and this is his first year in the league.
Yeah.
And he was expected to go outside of the
I wussed out, man. I wussed out, and it ruined me. It absolutely ruined me. And I know that I wussed out, and it's never going to happen again. So be scared.
Well, I just want my name on that trophy back to back. That's what I'm hoping for, man. All right, I'll go quick on my second biggest regret. I made a trade in our Dynasty League. I got Kyler Murray. Obviously, Kyler Murray didn't have a big year. I think my regret, though, is that I didn't utilize Mac Jones. I had Mac Jones on my bench multiple times. I picked up quarterback after quarterback saying, I'm going to go with Matt Ryan. I'm going to go with Ben Roethlisberger. I'm going to go with somebody. And Mac Jones is just sitting on my bench. And I didn't make the playoffs where if I would have started Mac Jones, I think I even started Mike White a week.
The second week.
Correct. Exactly. Not the first one, the second week. And I lost. It was a close game. I had lost. That if I would have started Mac Jones in those other weeks, I probably would have been a 9-5 team. I had the second most points in the league. So that's a regret. I'm not regretting giving up getting Kyler. I gave up a first-round draft pick. I think he still has tons of potential. They have a young team. He is a bright future. But the Deshaun Watson thing killed me so much that I took a chance on Mac, and I never actually took the chance on Mac.
You know why? Because you're a homer. And you still hate the Patriots, even though they don't have Tom Brady.
I hate it. Sorry,
I'll be damned if I put in his heir apparent.
And he's been on my bench ever since.
Deep down, that's what was stopping it. You know it.
Bro, I picked up Mike White. I picked up Ben Roethlisberger. I picked up Matt Ryan. I picked up Heineke. I picked up 4 different quarterbacks.
Yeah. You got to take your heart out of it.
I got to take my heart out of it. That's what it comes down to. Do we want to answer more questions? You want to talk about your moving forward?
We can answer more.
We'll
get to that.
Perfect.
Sleeper of the
Alan, yeah, sleeper of the year you called. I think Khalil Herbert is worth a mention. He helped me a few weeks get into the playoffs. Yeah, Marty mentioned that before too, man.
Man, he was good. Right in the meat of the season. It was big.
All right. Biggest surprise of the year. I'm thinking Cordarrelle Patterson. Yeah, man. That was definitely the biggest surprise. And again, going with my gut, I had him in the preseason show as somebody that I liked. Rookie of the year, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, Mac Jones, Najee Harris.
Yeah, I think it's
Jamar Chase in there too. I know he hasn't had a couple weeks, but
it's going to be Parsons. He'll probably win defensive player. He should, unless they give it to TJ Watt, even though he's always
been hurt.
Yeah, but they might still give it to him for whatever reason. And it's probably going to be Mac Jones. Najee and Javonte and Jamar are right there, but it'll probably be Mac Jones, especially if they get the number 1 seed.
All right. You were super high on Zeke, which is why I took him first round. I know it was a lot of injuries, but still, and J-Rob. Yeah. He just mentioned it, man. One of the biggest regrets.
Yeah. J-Rob's not a regret, though. The only regret I have there is I was so low on Lawrence that I should have correlated a little bit. However, we did mention earlier in the show is that neither one of us really liked Cousins, and that's why we sort of stayed away. But I actually have Jefferson in the league, so I did stay away from Jefferson. But I was so low on Lawrence. I didn't think Lawrence would be good at all. I mean, maybe it'll change next year and he'll be better. Maybe my feelings will change in the offseason. But I should have kind of put 2 and 2 together. It's like rookie head coach, terrible quarterback. Maybe this isn't going to go so well. But his value was really good. I mean, he was like a 5th round. You could get him. So.
All right. Freeman, Chase, Pittman, Cooks need 3.
I'm going to go with the wide receivers for now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Freeman. I'm just not feeling it.
Freeman did well with Huntley the last time. I think that's where bias is coming in. I think you got to look at the matchup, though, playing against the Green Bay Packers. I mean,
Freeman was good 2 weeks ago with Lamar, but
Lamar,
I don't know. I can't get behind it for whatever reason.
If they do play options or the RPOs, I think that's where Freeman comes into play. So it's a really game time, but the target share that you're going to get out of Chase, Pittman, and Cooks, I don't think you can sit that. All right. During the draft, no one in my league wanted to take J-Rob. I was screaming at my screen, thought I was getting a deal. Now I wish I stayed away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not all his fault. It's really not. It's really not his fault. I mean, he gets benched for quarters at a time for something that, like, come on, man. He's your best player. It's not all his fault.
DK screwed me too. Yeah, man. DK was rough this year. Season long by Mageddon. Jeremy, we might have to hire you, man. Darko, Lockett is wide receiver 11 on the season. Yeah, he is. He had some really huge weeks that I think. But I'll look it up real quick. I think like weeks 3 through like 7 or 8, you're lucky if you got double digits. I don't even think he did that.
Yeah, a couple points.
You know what? I'm gonna look. Give me 1 second. 5 point. Oh, this is my league. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 7 weeks, he didn't break 10 points, but he did have a 25-pointer, a 35-pointer, a 25-pointer, an 18-pointer, a 26-pointer. I mean, that's where his points came from. He already mentioned.
You can't deny that. I mean, it's solid.
It is.
He's boomer bust, which is what we have said all along with him. When the boom, it boom, and the boom, it boom. When the bust, it bust, the bust, it bust.
Year, man. Okay, we already mentioned that one. Year of the next man up. Brain fog football. I like that one too. Kirk is good. McLaurin replacement if he doesn't play, or should I look to waivers?
Yeah, Kirk's good because D-Hop's out, more than likely.
Emma Vot, FYI.
Might as well.
All right. 49ers this week. Falcons, yeah, he had mentioned going with the 49ers, probably your best bet, and then picking up the Eagles as well. Biggest mistake, regret was drafting Bobby Trees over Cooper Kupp. That's a tough one. They were in that same situation that right next to each other, like Zach Moss and Singletary. You had no clue who to take.
Yeah, well, we didn't know if Stafford has never really been a Cooper Kupp type guy, and he is now.
All right, Dearness Johnson or Craig pickup.
Yeah, Dearness Johnson, he looked good last week with Hunt being out, but typically they just go Chubb full force. And we don't know if it's going to be Craig Reynolds because we don't know what's going to be with Jamal coming back. We don't know if Swift's going to play. I don't think he does. He could be a one-week wonder. He looked really good, and I'd seen his name in the past before. I'd probably go with Craig Reynolds just because I know what the Browns do when there's no Hunt. But they did use Dearness last week when the Hunt went out. Pick up both if you can. Go with your gut. I don't love either. You probably have better players than both of them on your team at this point. So if you're just grabbing the stash, I don't think you can really go right or wrong with those two, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
All right, Antonio, with Pats or Green Bay?
I mean, Green Bay struggles against rushing quarterback. Huntley is going to actually start the game if he has to, and if he doesn't, it's Lamar. This is going to be one of the biggest tests of the year. They did okay against Kyler. I think Lamar's a little better, really. I honestly do because he's bigger. Huntley. I'm just waiting for the wheels to fall off my boys. And it doesn't seem to be happening. But aside from those like 4 or 5 huge plays from the Bears last week, Patriots coming off a bye are going to be pretty ready for the Colts. Colts have some big playmakers.
You said it. Right? The Belichick's going to stop Taylor. He's going to make Wentz beat them.
Yeah. And is Wentz good enough? I don't know. J.C. Jackson's back there.
If it was me, I'm going Green Bay. I hate to not play the Pats, but the fact that the offense on the Colts is way better than what you're going to get probably out of Huntley against Green Bay.
Yeah.
Both are on the road too, so.
Yeah.
Spencer, Las Vegas just got killed. I'm thinking Browns do the same.
Yeah, go for it. I like it.
All right.
They're in disarray.
Zerline over Folk with more points in the Dallas game.
I don't know. Folks indoors. I kind of like the indoors versus being on the road in New York. New Jersey, actually.
You stop that.
I think it would go with Folk. Colts have a pretty good defense that could stall their offense. I don't see the Giants stalling Dallas very much. I'm going to go with Folk.
Yeah, I've been sticking with Folk all year. I actually dropped Tyler Bass. I picked up Tyler Bass for this week. I played him, and I dropped Tyler Bass to keep Folk. I have a first-round bye, dropping Indy for KCD versus Pittsburgh in Week 16. Good move. I have New England on ready for Week 17 if I make it that far.
Indy, they have a good... Oh,
Indy plays the Patriots today. I mean, this week.
But they have a good Week 17, right?
They play the Colts, play the Cardinals 16, and 17 they play the Raiders.
But he's got New England for 17. Yeah, I can do that. Who are you using this week, Chad? Yeah, definitely New England, Week 17.
Yeah, I would think so. My thought for Ernest. Sorry, Ernest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we understood it, man. New England plays Jacksonville Week 17. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
all right.
So that's okay. I like KC against Pittsburgh Week 16. Sure, why not? Bye week. Nice. I forgot.
Yeah, that's right. He just said that. Yeah, good call. All right, let's talk about moving forward. I have a couple things about moving forward for this year compared to, I don't know how you were talking about moving forward, so I based it off of playoffs.
Go ahead.
First thing is always, I think it's our key thing that we always say, and something that we've probably said since the beginning of season 1, episode 1, going with your gut. I've mentioned it, I think, a few times already this week, as far as mistakes that I've made or players that I didn't go with, and so on and so forth. Going with my gut is something that it's very hard to do. I am like a lot of you. I ask a lot of questions, and I want everyone's opinion, and then I formulate my own opinion based on everybody else's opinion. You can ask guests. I text them all the time saying, hey, I'm not playing against you this week, but I need you to answer this question. Or, hey, I am playing against you this week. I still need you to answer this question. And again, I kind of like to formulate answers. So going with gut doesn't only mean, what I feel in my stomach. It's thinking of through the process and really focusing on what does going with your gut mean. It means that you know football well enough to have gotten you to this point. Why try to hinder and do something outside of what your comfort zone is? Sometimes you got to take that risk, and I get it. And sometimes your gut's going to tell you to go with that risk. So go with it. But what I'm saying is that know who you are as a fantasy owner, and trust your instincts.
Well, thanks, Rob. You should have told me that about 18 weeks ago, and I would have taken Jonathan Taylor.
I think I did in season 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes. Yeah, great points. Great points. My moving forward is a little more concise. There was one position this year that we discussed, and we pretty much said like it's whatever, and if you could get uh, 3 for 30 something, you're doing okay. That's the tight ends. Moving forward, I think next season tight ends are going to be great. I have a feeling tight ends are going to be great. And here's why. You got Kelsey declining. No matter which way you want to look at it, he's over 30, right up there. Declining. They got Noah Gray waiting. He's going to get more involved in the offense next year. Kelsey's not declining by any means, really, but he is a little bit. And Noah Gray's there waiting, and they drafted him to sort of be the guy to come in after. I see him taken up. But it's been Kelsey for so long. And the other guys that were kind of with Kelsey are like gone. Jimmy Graham, Gronk's kind of pretty much gone. He's still there doing his thing, but he's pretty much gone. But there's a big cohort, a big group of them that are in year 2, year 3, year 4, going into maybe even year 5 next year, that I think are going to really explode onto the scene. Some guys, we've seen it a little bit already this year. Fryermuth, Komet. Some guys that we've talked about for a couple of years that I think are really going to push it forward, like Gesicki. And I just think, and the list can go on, and there's a couple guys that might even be rookies last year. I think Pitts is going to have a huge year next year. He's a rookie. We got to remember this. He's a rookie, right? He's had an okay season, but if you rack them up with rookies, there's really only 2 rookies that have been better. That'd be Chase and Waddle. Who else has really been better from a receiving standpoint? Am I missing somebody? Because it's not Tony. It's not Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, like, Pitts has been okay. But I feel like next year, a lot of people are going to want to say, I overreached with Kelsey. He didn't really perform. I'm going to drop him back. Kittle's who I have to take in the first round. I don't think so. I think Kittle's looked really great. But I really think that while this year tight ends we talked about ad nauseum at times, it's like if you could just get somebody that's breathing, you'll be okay. I think next year tight ends are going to be a force. And I kind of almost feel like teams are going to start to utilize them more, and you're going to see a lot more production out of tight ends. Doesn't mean you have to reach for one because there's going to be a bunch of them. But tight end is like a lost fantasy position. This season, it was just like whoever you can get, just throw them in. And if they give you something, it's good. I think next year we're going to see a lot of production out of tight ends, and it's going to be like at least 10 to 12 deep. Like really good, really, really good week-to-week tight ends. Because they're all young. And it takes a couple of years with a tight end. But they're all going to splash, I think, in 2022. That's my prediction. We'll see if it holds up. We could revisit it in a year. But I just think tight ends are going to make a huge splash next year. And that they're going to amount for some good stuff. I mean, even guys that are doing okay, like Schultz, they'll just get even better. Higbee will get even better. So that's my prediction moving forward.
All right. I got one more thing that I wanted to kind of mention as far as a moving forward. It's based on playoffs. Know your team, and it kind of relates to something that goes with Cup. But for me, I'm looking right now at positions that I may need to fill based on matchups. Matchups not only from an NFL perspective, but something that Guest has mentioned to us, especially the last few weeks, is who your opponent is playing. You got to think from a strategic standpoint. how am I not only blocking them by picking up certain players, but how am I utilizing the players I have on my team as an advantage? So if you see they're starting Matt Stafford and you have Van Jefferson this week and Odell's out, I may start a Van Jefferson over somebody who I may not want to bench, but it may make sense because if Stafford throws a touchdown to Van Jefferson, the points that you're going to get for that wide receiver compared to the quarterback is going to be more substantial for your team. I'm looking at also picking up backups for me, not only again based on matchups, but injuries have been such a plague this year and COVID and so on and so forth that's happening. Having the second option based on the week's matchup, I think is a good point or a good thing to have. For example, I have Burrow. Burrow has been my quarterback all year long. I've been make or break with Burrow. The ebbs and flows have gone up and down. Luckily, I have a bye this week, but I was picking up Tua if I didn't have a bye this week because they're going against the Jets, and I'm giving myself a game time decision to be able to say, okay, do I like the matchup better? I have Gesicki. I can get the double BB banger. I'm thinking through every single logical step as to how I can win my game, not only again from the players that I have, but the strategies that I've learned to be able to try and not only negate what my opponent is doing, but putting the best product I have on the field based on my knowledge.
Yeah, great points. Great points. Yeah, this is something you should always be doing, but right now, as Rob said, this is something you need to be doing. Don't be like, I made the playoffs. I did it, baby.
Yeah, put your feet up, man.
No, there is work to be done, and this is the hardest work. This is the hardest work, and you got to put in extra. You got to put in extra, and blocking, picking up guys that you may not use just in case. Well, nailed it, Rob. You nailed it. Next year, we're going to do at least 2 weeks of answers by Rob. And you've earned it with that one.
I've learned from the best, man. All right. We got games to still talk about. So it's already an hour and a half in. Let's start jumping into the games.
Okay.
Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers is your Thursday night football game. KC coming off of a huge victory, like you called. It wasn't the main guys, though. It wasn't Hill. Don't get me wrong. Hill had an okay game. He had 70-something yards and a few receptions. Kelsey, again, you just mentioned him kind of on the ebbs right now. Chargers always play them well. Is it okay to play a Gore in the playoffs? Is it okay to play a Darrell Williams? Or am I still sticking with my main four there? On the flip side, Chargers played well against the Giants, but they didn't play the greatest against the Giants either. Keenan Allen should be back. How does that affect everybody on that team, and who can we trust?
Yeah, well, I mean, because we kind of stopped doing the recaps, we'll get back to the recaps for next year. We may even get back to them for next week. I almost wanted to do them tonight, but then we had the idea of talking about players and wins and losses and things that we did right or did wrong. But if we would have done a recap, I would have pointed out that when so many people this past week were on Guyton, I said, not so fast, because it could be Palmer. And you know what? Palmer had a better game than Guyton. He had more receptions. He had more targets. Guyton had the one 59-yard touchdown. You take away that 59-yard touchdown, he had 2 for 28. 2 receptions, 2 other targets, 28 yards. Palmer was used all over the place. If Allen comes back, I think that Palmer remains their 3. Rookie, like we sort of mentioned, we were talking about the rookie wide receivers. I just think that, he's got a better pedigree. He's a better wide receiver. I think Herbert trusts him more. That's why he was looking to him. I don't think it has much to do with coverage, because the Giants secondary isn't really that good anyways, and it wasn't so much of a passing game, so to speak, for Herbert. It was, they could do whatever they wanted to. It's going to be a little different this week, but they are at home. regardless, I don't think if it's not Williams, who's even iffy in his own right, and it's not Allen, and it's not Eckler, and it's not Hill, and it's not Kelsey, and it's not CEH. I don't think I would start anybody except for maybe Palmer in this one as a flex. And the only reason I would even consider having to play him, maybe I own Odell and DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm in the playoffs. Well, they're both not playing. Everybody went out and picked up Jalen Guyton last week. Josh Palmer's sitting out there. I grabbed Josh Palmer and I play him. Because you're playing against the Chiefs. Should be a high-scoring game. Vegas thinks so. I do think the Chargers win. I think it's really close. And, wouldn't surprise me if Mahomes brings them back at the end and wins it. But I think the Chargers win. I think they do enough at home. But I'm not playing anybody outside of the people. I'm not playing Josh Gordon. Ruben's 1-yard touchdown. Josh Gordon is a prime example of what I talked about before. I thought for sure it was going to be CEH first and goal from the 1. Nope, they throw it to Josh Gordon. 1-yard touchdown, first down. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of glad, but it didn't matter in the end because I got smoked anyways playing against CEH. But yeah, I'm not going crazy with this one. I'm playing the guys I have, and I'm playing them with confidence. And if I need a prayer, it's Josh Palmer because I do think that he's the number 3 for the Chargers.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Las Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland Browns. Raiders on the other side of that, as you called it, shellacking of KC. Darren Waller seems like he's coming back. How does that affect everybody? And is Wish Cooper Kupp the only play for the Raiders? On the other side, Cleveland had a really good first half, and they didn't have a great second half, in my opinion. Hunt being out, you said it's the Chubb show. Anybody else that we're considering starting from this Cleveland Browns team besides Chubb?
Yeah, DPJ, for sure. He had a good game last week. Played through the whole game. Didn't get hurt. I think he had 3 for 86 or something along those lines. I definitely play him. Jarvis Landry, I think, is banged up again, if I'm not mistaken.
He's out with COVID.
COVID. It was even worse, right?
Buddy.
Yeah, and Hooper as well has COVID. So this could be rough. So this is why when the question was brought up about Kansas City or Cleveland, I think it was those two, it's a little iffy with Cleveland. It's the better matchup, but their offense is hurting. So if they could run with Chubb and Dearness, because Hunt's not there, and run with some success, which they probably can at home against the Raiders, I think they keep the Raiders' offense off the field enough that all these guys being out doesn't kill them. I would guess Rashad Higgins gets some burn with no Landry. I don't know how, but they might have to. Demetric Felton might have to get playing time. I feel like he's fumbled the last 3 times he's touched the football, which is absolutely terrible because he had a great start to his NFL career, and it's been the never-ending ebb for him. And every time he gets on the field now, he's making a mistake. But they might need him this week with no Landry, no Hooper. Who knows if Njoku's going to be back or Bryant. Early game, 1 day early, it could screw things up. So I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is really, along with Chubb, and if you're desperate, Dearness, I guess, and hope that they use him. But really, it's just the other two. And for the Raiders, it's Renfro. We'll see if Waller comes back because he was day-to-day last week. And
he didn't practice this week, today, Tuesday.
He didn't practice today, okay. Well, we'll see. Because Moreau hasn't been doing much of anything. And they still don't look to Brian Edwards enough for whatever reason. And Zay Jones, Josh Jacobs, I guess, maybe. He's been running hard, but the Browns have a tough defensive line. But if he's all you got, it could be worse. I think that this game, the Browns' defense, so long as they don't have to be on the field a over and over and over and over again, Browns defense will be an okay play because, like I said on the Saturday night show last week, Derek Carr just is looking a bit lost lately. I don't know if it's too much mascara in his eyes. I don't know what's happening.
It's because he's looking more and more like Marv from Home Alone.
Is that what it is? Started off real hot. Maybe it's the Waller effect. If Waller comes back, I think that Vegas could win this. But without him, I think this might be a snoozer. This could be like a 13-6.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah, sorry guys, this is a Saturday game, 4:30, and then the next one here is Saturday at 8:20. New England Patriots at the Indianapolis Colts, both coming off their bye. Patriots, we know, was the win game in the last situation where they ran the ball 138 times, it felt like. Harris and Stevenson are having 50-50 split. It seems like you don't know who's getting the ball. Harris looked better coming off the bye week. He was injured in that last game. Seems like he has potential of playing. Are we comfortable starting Harris in that situation for your first week of the playoffs here? And anybody else we could be looking at from a wide receiver perspective? Indianapolis Colts, obviously you're playing Jonathan Taylor. You had mentioned Pittman before. Anybody else we can kind of look at from this team to be able to start in week 15?
I'm 1,000 times more confident in Damian Harris than Ramondre Stevenson. Harris is the starter. He was the starter last week. He bowled him over when he had to come out of the game because he was injured. Stevenson came in and bowled him over, but they still tried to get Harris back in the game. And when he got in the back in the game, he bowled him over. Then he got hurt again, so then it had to be Stevenson again. Harris is the starter. Harris is the number one. I don't think Belichick is doing a Belichick thing. I think it's Harris. And he'll get spelled a few times by Ramondre. But Harris is the number one. And so long as he makes it through this game healthy, he'll have the majority of the production. I really, really, truly feel so. And with the extra week, the bye week off, hopefully he's healed. If he gets dinged up, then Stevenson will pick up the slack. Colts have a good defense, but they give up a ton. They underperform. Rob and I know that firsthand. I like Pittman. We've recommended him a couple times throughout the night. And you know Belichick's going to do what he can do to stop Taylor. Will he be able to 100%? Probably not. There's no way you're benching Taylor the first round of the playoffs. So no sense in even considering it. We'll see if they get Kylan Granson more involved. The rookie I mentioned earlier in the season, slowly but surely he's getting more and more snaps, a couple catches here or there. Thinking maybe they use the bye week to get him even more acclimated because Mo Cox has sort of fallen away. Jack Doyle's gotten a little more involved, but he's 40. So I think that Kylan Granson, if you're doing DFS especially, I think he could be a sneaky, cheap play. And if like you're whatever tight ends you're rolling with are dying, Waller, and then you filled him in with somebody else, maybe Logan Thomas, and then he got hurt, and then you put Austin Hooper in last week because we told you to, and now he's got COVID. You could probably go out and pick up Kylan Granson, and you might get lucky this one. If I had to pick a guesstimator for these first three games, it would be Kylan Granson because he's definitely less than 15% owned. Most people don't know who he is, but he's a young, up-and-coming. He was their first draft pick, I think, this year, maybe their second. And he's really good. And he's a tight end. He's learning. And I think that he is somebody that they could use to get the ball out quick. He's not going to play 100% of the snaps, but if he plays 50% and he gets 5 or 6 targets, he might get 3 catches for 40 yards. He might get lucky and get a touchdown. So Kylan Granson's a name to watch out for if you want to just stash somebody for the playoff run as well. The Patriots, I don't know. honestly, I feel like they come into this game, and I think I mentioned this after that Wind game. I said they'll come out the next game and just throw the ball all over the place. Would not be surprised if that still is true. I still feel the same way. Belichick's like, oh, you know, we're just going to come out and chuck the ball all over. You don't think that Mac Jones can throw on you? Okay. Kendrick Bourne, get out there. Aguilar, get out there. Jacoby, get out there. Hunter Henry, get out there. We'll do a couple of these things to Janu. Do I feel safe playing any of them? No. And odds are, if you're in the playoffs, you probably don't have any of them except for maybe Hunter Henry. But he's been terrible the past couple of weeks. We don't count the last game, but even before that. So I kind of stay away if it's not Harris or Mac Jones if you're in a pinch.
Somebody for a DFS lineup that I was thinking, Naheem Hines could be somebody of interest just because Taylor is going to be their focus. I think that will open up things for Hines, and where even the return yards that he can get. I mean, he's going to give you a little bit of something, and I can see Wentz using him as a check down. I could even see Taylor and Hines on the field together to be able to try to do some trickery.
Amazing call. Amazing call.
All righty. Guess anything else there, sir?
No, best of luck. 3 games to get us going. Sunday morning we'll be live. We'll let you know the time. Could be an early one. Could be a later one. We'll keep you on the edge of your toes. When we'll be live, nobody knows.
Including us.
Sooner or later, we'll let you know. But great season. To all the losers out there, there's always next year. And to all the winners, good luck and keep the good times going.
Let's go, guys. Let's root for it. Answers by guess. We'll see you on Sunday. Later.